Hey, everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. This week, I'd like to kind of revisit a topic that I know comes up every so often. I've done a couple of What's Up Wednesdays in the past on it, but I'd like to talk about distracted driving. Now, this is one of those topics that I think we need to revisit every 3, 6, 12 months. I think that we need to talk about it actively with our teams because it's a big issue. And I think that any of us who drive on a daily basis can justify this topic as being worth talking about. And again, it needs constant reminder. So it's a great topic of a safety meeting, just a general discussion, just to remind people the importance of it. And this is why. Driving is an activity that most of us perform on a daily basis. It is unquestionably the most dangerous activity that any of us probably participate in our daily lives. And the reality is that we have a much greater risk of being injured or killed in a car accident than we do by pretty much anything else. And what ends up happening, I think, with people, and if, again, I'm sure you can relate to this when you drive around, uh, driving is distracting in itself. There's so much going on around us between other drivers, the weather, animals crossing the road, whatever it might be. There's so many different variables. There's so many different unknowns that we can't really control that environment. And then you add to it external distractions. And I know that every day when we're driving, we could probably point to somebody and say, that person is on their phone. They're talking on their phone, on their headset. They're texting while they're driving. And ironically, I saw somebody the other day who had a mount on their steering wheel. So their phone would sit in that mount and they could literally drive and text at the same time, which blew my mind. But ultimately, I would say that driving in itself is a safe activity. However, driving on the road with other people is not, because they are that factor, they are that unknown or that variable that will cause problems, and they are distracted. So we have to be on our game at all times. And as I've mentioned in the past, humans can pretty much adapt to anything, and we do compartmentalize risk, and we do that over time by becoming desensitized. And what that means is that fear or that risk goes from being real, apparent, and right in front of us to something that is less likely. So over time, we become much more complacent and much more accepting of that risk because nothing bad has happened. Then all of a sudden, we get a speeding ticket, we get in a car accident, and it is foremost and front in our minds again. So ultimately, we desensitize to that risk. And as we do so, the risk becomes greater because we're not paying attention the way that we normally would. And therefore, I think it's critical to remind people, whether it's driving a vehicle, whether it's climbing a ladder, stop, think, do an assessment, and then pay attention to what you're doing and make sure that every step of the way you're doing it safely. So it's a great reminder as we're leaving winter, even though right now it feels like winter 2.0. It's 36 degrees here in Seattle today. And yesterday it was 38 and raining. It certainly doesn't feel like spring, but spring is around the corner. We're going to have the sunshine coming up earlier in the morning, blinding people. Have your your sunglasses nearby. That's one of those areas driving that is, again, really high risk, is when you're not prepared and all of a sudden the sun's in your eyes. So we're going to be dealing with some new variables as the weather changes that will, I think, warrant the fact that we need to have this discussion with people again. So hopefully you find some value in that, and we'll see you with another topic next Wednesday.